Congressman Michael Waltz introducing a House resolution calling on the United States to boycott the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. The resolution pointing to various human rights violations as well as censorship and cover-ups from the Chinese Communist Party. President Joe Biden is expected to give his first official position on the U.S. participation in the Olympics today. Joining me now, Florida Congressman, House Armed Services Committee member, and foreman. Good morning to you.
Thank you.
When we look at a situation like this, we think about the Olympics. It's a privilege to host. There are also economic gains to be received. And you look at everything that's happened over the course of the last year, and you think about China's role with respect to the coronavirus specifically, not to mention the other things that we were talking about. And you say, should a country like this have that privilege, have that platform? And should we be pretending like, that nothing happened?
Right. Well, you look at, the Chinese Communist Party unleashed coronavirus on the world, over 2 million dead worldwide. They covered it up. They arrested journalists, arrested doctors who were trying to ring the bell to the world. And now you have ongoing genocide. As we speak, Biden's Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, agreed in his testimony for his nomination, forced labor, forced rape, internment camps and concentration camps of over 1 million Uyghurs, not to mention what they've done to Hong Kong and basic religious freedoms with the Buddhist Tibetans and Christians. This is an absolutely brutal dictatorship. And I don't see how the International Olympic Committee gives them the honor of having the Olympic Games in its capital. I can't imagine the American flag with our athletes there in Beijing after what they've put the world through and after how they're brutalizing their own people. And 180 international human rights organizations are also calling on the IOC to move the games. I want to be clear. We want the games to go on, but we want them out of China. But if that doesn't happen, I don't see how we participate.
And what do you think the president's stance on this will be? He already has said, to past references with respect to the coronavirus, you can't call it the China virus. You can't talk about the fact that it originated there, even though we know that it did. Where exactly is being disputed right now. But having said that, do you think that he'll share your position or even take a staunch position on this? Because he said he was going to be tough on China. Now it's time to see.
Well, that's right. And it's time to walk the walk when it comes to human rights. And I can't think of any more gross, brutal, and despicable human rights abuses that are going on than what's going on in China right now. The BBC just put out an expose on the forced rape campaign that's going on in Western China. And the BBC was kicked out of China just days later. But it's not just the administration. It's corporate America as well. NBC, that's going to broadcast the games, Nike, Adidas, Apple, so many American corporations talk the talk when it comes to social justice, when it comes to responsible governance. Well, now it's time to walk the walk, and they stand to make billions and pump billions into Beijing. In fact, an Australian think tank estimates that over 80 international global brands are benefiting from in their own ethical codes.
Yeah.
Congressman, this issue is troubling to so many people. They look at what's happening in China. You just laid it out perfectly. And they look at the present administration and they say nothing's going to change. It's going to go back to the status quo. We're going to continue to honor China. Companies are going to continue to do business in ways that breach all standards of ethics that we're used to in the marketplace. But the question is, so what happens? Can Congress, can Republicans who feel strongly about what's happening in China push back in any way? Or do you feel handcuffed in your position right now?
Well, that's what we're doing. We're calling this out every place that we can and beating this drum. And, the world just needs and all Americans need to fully realize what's going on there. It's not in line with our values. And we can't give an authoritarian dictatorship the platform that the Olympics provides. We have to remember they had the games in 2008 and they promised the world, the Tibetan groups, Uyghur groups, folks in Hong Kong, that they would improve their human rights record. And yet it's only gotten worse. And if you look at history, just months after we gave Putin the games in Sochi, he then invaded Crimea and invaded Ukraine. So we have to look at the legitimacy that the Olympic Games provides these dictatorships, and we have to take a tougher stand. That's what we're calling on the Biden administration to do.
Yeah.
And they need to live up to their rhetoric.
And it's also about accountability, right? We've been talking about that as a major theme this morning, it seems. I want to shift gears for a moment because House Republicans calling on Nancy Pelosi to explain why she's extending the National Guard troop presence around Capitol Hill until the fall of this year. Congressman, we all know what happened on January 6th was wrong, and we're working our way through that. But having said that, do you need the National Guard until the fall? It's going to cost millions and millions of dollars.
Everybody that participated in that riot should be prosecuted, arrested, and see justice. Absolutely. I'm still a serving National Guardsman, and I can appreciate that those soldiers were pulled out of their businesses, their jobs, their families, and they're sitting there with this open-ended mandate. I've repeatedly asked, as have a number of my colleagues, the Army, the National Guard Bureau, the Department of Justice, what is the threat that is so large, specifically, that requires more soldiers on Capitol Hill than we have in Iraq and Afghanistan combined? And then what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do going forward? This is just this kind of open-ended mandate. I'm calling it the Guard can't serve as her private security force, and we need answers, and we're not getting any.
Well, we're going to be waiting and we're going to be watching. Congressman Michael Waltz, thank you so much for your time this morning.
All right. Thanks so much.